The press.
Well, that's the only people that show up.
I just saw Perry going up there with.
Yeah, I'm gonna swallow me. About 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Good.
We'll huddle.
That's right.
It's
Gil will take us on to around 1
House Bill
p.m.
286, child.
Until 3.
Child sex.
Basketball game.
Veteran education.
Pardon me?
I had covered it a lot, and Angela Romero she got really good at saying it really fast.
Child sexual abuse prevention.
And then she'd say education at the end every time, so it was even longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, are you guys ready?
Rock and roll.
Okay, we're on.
Welcome to the Utah Senate Press Availability and Legislative Update. Today is Tuesday. We're working on House bills. We finished up all the Senate bills last night, about 8 o'clock. We adjourned. And today we passed 2 budget bills. We have our appropriation chair here. Would you like to just give us a briefing on the budget bills that we passed?
You know, a lot of it, the work that everybody put into it. And then I know I sat in our caucus and went line by line. I basically did the same thing at the Democratic caucus as well. And I have to always remember, I like about 95% in it, and I don't like 5%. I need to forget about the 5%, be happy for the 95%. As I indicated on the floor, the funding for public education, as I look at those figures, just under $135 million, and we had 247 to spend. So over 50% of the new ongoing revenue, and that 247 includes general fund as well as education fund. And so over 50% of that went for public education. And the one-time things we funded included Beverly Taylor Sorensen Fund and teacher supply. And so we put a pretty good substantial amount in the one-time as well. I think really the winner in this, if it could be a winner, has got to be public ed, higher ed, and social services. I mean, they came out really well, and part of it is the fact that last year we overestimated the need for social services, and so we didn't come close to what we estimated. But how large is the budget, Senator Jones? About $5 billion. And so when you miss it by $20 million, it's $20 million sounds like a lot of money, but in compared to how large the budget is, it works out. So we could use that money to fund some of the things and needs in social service, and I think they really went quite far this year in covering the requests that were being made. So I feel very, very good about the budget, 95% of it. And so we'll have a few more things we have to do. I know we did our budget with some understanding where the governor was, but we sent down Saturday when we finished our rough draft to the governor's office, and the governor's office will come back with some items that they want included, and we'll have to consider that as we do the bill of bills. And I'm sure we've got members of each body, there's things they wanted funded that were not, but basically the money's gone. It's just finding a little bit here and a little bit there and putting it together to see if we can fund what we want.
Any questions for Senator Hilliard?
It's the 5% you didn't like.
I dare to say that. I'd get in real trouble.
I heard there's an issue with about $3 million in compensation or reimbursement for Medicaid providers that you're trying to...
I have not heard that.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, I've not heard that.
They're probably talking about the $2 million for the tax.
Well,
issue.
my understanding was that they agreed in the Medicaid reforms to a cap on their reimbursement at inflation, and the inflationary adjustment wasn't included in the budget.
Yeah, Dan Lillenquist, who really put it, after he did the retirement issue, he was working on Medicaid and had some things in there. He caught me about midway through the session, and I sent him up to staff, and he caught me today and said, now he's talked it through, and apparently there's some massaging they do within their budget that can work some of that out. So I think we have resolved. I think, now you mentioned that, Robert, as I recall, they've agreed on some intent language that gives those in the Medicaid some flexibility that they can help cover it. So the rest of you understand what it is, because it's really pretty technical. Dan worked out a capitation for Medicaid and said basically the Medicaid, you've got X number of dollars, now fit it within there, in the hopes that instead of sending people to the emergency rooms of the hospital, they would care for them other ways that were less expensive. And that has been working out really quite well. And I kidded this former Senator Lillenquist. There's a scripture about the Pharaoh knew not Joseph, and I said you need to be back here earlier so that people now in the system remember what you did and keep in continuity. And he promised me that he would. So I suspect we'll solve that and keep going towards that way. And that's one of the benefits in getting people to use less expensive procedures, and the emergency room versus these clinics is really a good example where we could save a lot of money in Medicaid.
Any other budget questions? Okay, so we also addressed the child sexual abuse prevention bill today. We have Senator Adams here to address that. And any questions? Or would you like to give some prefacing remarks?
I think it was a very good debate. I think we learned something I think we all know very well, and that's that child abuse is a serious event, and it's long-lasting, and we need to do everything we can to try to prevent it. And I think this bill helps with that. I think there's a need to make sure we have parental involvement as best possible, that we have oversight, and I think the bill strikes a balance.
Questions for Senator Adams? We've got Senator Knudsen here. He's receiving bills from the House. Any of the bills that are coming over that you have some particular interest in, or?
I don't know how to answer that, because kind of interested in all of them. But as far as a particular interest, the very first bill that we got on the list is one that we had addressed somewhat in the interim committee on public utilities. And that's the proposed transmission line that a company would like to run through Utah. And it's been somewhat controversial.
Yeah, that is controversial.
And so we'll see what happens with it. There's a lot of debate right now in the hallways on this particular bill. Otherwise, that would be the only one that caught my fancy.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
Not a real.
I was going to say, if Senator Knudsen does a good job, we'll be through by tomorrow night at 6.
You can count on I'll do my best.
There we go.
Robert, are you expecting to go late tonight? How many House bills are you going to go through today?
Well, it's hard to say how many, depends on the debate on the bills, but we believe we're going to probably just go till 6 o'clock tonight.
Wow.
As soon as we get word that the House has passed our budget bill and we passed their budget bill, then I'm going to start bringing up fiscal note bills off the table and wherever they may be and get those out of here so that we can at least keep our staff from going crazy the last night.
Maybe Senator Hilliard and maybe Senator Jones, you can address the air quality. There was a chunk of money that I guess as Representative Brown explained yesterday. You set aside a chunk of money for air quality programs. Some of the things like the bus conversion didn't get funded. The wood-burning stove conversion got reduced fairly significantly. I mean, obviously, the air quality is okay today. Did it get the attention that you anticipated coming into the session?
I think it was about $3.5 million that was appropriated for air quality issues.
May I answer that?
Yes.
Seems to me that air quality is now one of the top priorities, certainly for the public. And I think it's really registered up there with legislators, in my opinion. It seems like there were several bills that were kind of bundled together in the House. And it took a long time for them to see daylight over here. That was my perception. And so I think that it's kind of, it's still as important, if not more important to the public, but I'm not certain where it is on the following the snake, if you will. Okay? Is that fair?
There's a air quality inversion, air quality bill inversion, you're saying? There is one initiative that I think we ought to highlight that Senator Adams has been working on. And I think the Tribune article that was in Sunday's paper, this initiative could address this to, I think, a large degree. We have a lot of our school buses that are very aged and not up to the emission standards of new buses. There's some things that we could be doing there. Senator Adams, what could you talk about your bill?
Sure. I'm trying to make sure I've got the right number here, but it's
He's looking through his long list of bills.
yeah,
Your local bill is.
because I'd like to. It's Senate Bill 243, air quality programs. And we talked before, most people are aware of it, but it creates through the public utilities a donation where people can add a dollar to the utility bill. If they don't want it, they opt out. But that has the ability to obviously generate probably from zero, if everybody opt out, to $18 million. And that could actually could fill in on those issues you're talking about. You know, we could, the interlocal could decide to use that money for wood-burning stoves or bus conversions. The ideal use of it would be in a revolving loan fund. And we've talked before about having a $30,000 bus conversion. You loan the money to the school district or entity. They pay the money back over a 3-year period of time with the cost savings between natural gas and regular fuel. They get a clean bus, they get lower operating costs, the air gets cleaner. We get the money to use again. So that bill's in the House. I hope everyone calls their representative and tells them how much they love it and get it passed. Is that a plug?
Okay. That's it? Any text?
Let me make a comment on something I think is really interesting to understand the system. When we have bills pass one body to the other right at the very end of the time, and then get over to the other body, and you don't really have committee hearings on them, they become very concerning. A good example is the one to legalize medical marijuana. And I appreciate the fact that Senator Urquhart circled it, set it at a time so people would be there so you had a chance to read it. But those kind of bills get a lot of press, a lot of interest, a lot of concerns, but you really haven't had a chance in the Senate itself to go through committee and everything. I know that may have gone through committee, but I know Senator Stevenson's bills that he had Monday night, he had some pretty heavy ones on public ed, and they have some merit, but I voted against them personally just because I knew they'd go over the House and not have a committee hearing, and those things need to have more vetting than just the last. But you'll see that in some of these bills that come out. That's why it's so concerned they have committee hearings in both bodies.
Thank you. Until tomorrow, stay tuned.
But don't come Thursday unless the governor calls it a
Friday.
special session.